what should draw our attention? To the book of Job. Amen. We learn in Bible study, some people call this book Job. But if you ever get in front of anybody, this is called the book of Job. Amen. Put an invisible E on the back of it. Amen. For those of you that might have a little trouble finding Job, just go to Psalms. Amen. Go to Psalms and back up a little bit. Amen. Go back one book. Amen. Amen. The book of Job, chapter 23. Verse 8 through 10. Amen. You all don't have to go there, but I'm going to jump to 42. Amen. I want to do something with 42. 10, for those of you that are writing, I'm going to do something from 42:10, the A clause, and 42:12, the B clause. Amen. Before I go further, certainly want to thank God. Let's give our praise and worship team a hand. Amen. Thank God. Amen. For you all for taking us in. Let's give our musicians. Amen. Amen. And call the worship leader, Sister Kiana, wonderful job this morning. Amen. I certainly would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge, amen, my lovely wife. Amen. 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 Again, that's the book of Job, chapter 23, verse 8 through 10. Then I said, I'm going to jump. You all don't have to go there, but for those of you that are writing, keeping notes, write 42:10, the A clause, and 42B. Amen. I'm sorry, it's 42:12, the B clause. When you get to that text, you'll find these words, amen, in the book of Job, chapter 23, verse 8. It says, behold, I go forward, but he is not there. And backward, but I cannot perceive him. 9 says, on the left hand where he doth work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand, that I cannot see him. 10 says, but there's a shift that's taking place right here. He knoweth the way that I take. When he hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold. Job 42:10 and B says, the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. And the next verse I want to do with Job 42:12, the A clause says, so the Lord blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning. This morning, if I could, just for a little bit, for about 20 minutes, I want to talk from the subject, enduring the process. Wow. Enduring. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, you have to endure the process. Amen. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. Amen. I got happy, amen, when the Lord dropped this title in my spirit. Enduring the process. The process. Brother Najee, when I was in high school, around the 11th grade, many years ago, I found myself, Brother Lamont, around in the 11th grade, in an interracial relationship. Now, I won't tell you what race or what nationality the young lady was. Sister Angela Hill, I will tell you all that she had blonde hair and blue eyes. And you all, Sister Annette, can figure out the rest. And now you have to understand, when you begin to look at interracial relationships, in today's times, they have become normal. In today's times, they have become accepted. Interracial relationships, interracial marriages are not anything strange today. But you have to understand, I grew up in a town that was predominantly white. I grew in a little small city called Sandusky, Ohio. When you begin to look at the demographics, 70% of the people there were white, and only 30% of the people were black. And so, Brother Watt, as me and this young lady, we get into a relationship, it was the first time that I dated anybody outside of my race. Not like I had been dating that long anyway. I was only in the 11th grade. It wasn't like I had that many dating experiences. Up to that time, I was a little square, but I had never dated somebody outside of my race. And this young lady, she hadn't either. And Minister-elect Eric, when we went into this relationship, I don't believe either one of us realized or understood all the things that we may have had to go through. When you began to look at her, she came from a very prominent family. Her dad was a big business owner. He had a big company in Chicago, Illinois. Her mom worked for a very prestigious firm in that little town that we lived in. And when they found out that she was dating or seeing somebody out of her race, it did not sit well at home. P.S. She began to tell me how her parents were calling me the N-word behind my back. How they were saying, I can't believe that you're with that N-word. And she wasn't the only one that had to face the ridicule. I felt I had to deal with some too, Sister Valerie. Many of the sisters, especially the sisters in the neighborhood, they were not happy that I was dating a young lady outside of my race. Oftentimes, Minister Heron, they would say I had jungle fever. Oftentimes, Dakeem, they would say negative things to me. Oftentimes, the young sisters couldn't understand why a brother like myself wanted to choose somebody that had blonde hair and blue eyes. When you began to look at this young lady, not only did we receive flack outside of the school, but sometimes we even received flack inside the school. Brother Walt, the principal, he would walk by, and if we were talking, he would tell us to scatter, get away from one another. Or the shit got so bad to the point to where the principal, he didn't call my mama and tell my mama that I was dating or messing with somebody outside of my race, but he thought enough to call her family and to tell her family that your daughter is seeing a fella outside of her race. So she was feeling flack from all over the place. When you began to look at me, I was a really good athlete. I was one of the top athletes in the school. She was the head of the varsity cheerleading team. So that's the main thing that kind of had us in common. But she kept on receiving all of this flack. But she began to tell me that she was willing to go through whatever it took if she could be with me. Now, Gary, I have to be painfully honest today. I should have preached this when Elder Sheila was gone.
Work with the house,
She had her mind set up that she was willing to do whatever it took to be with me. Now, Sister Tiffany, I have to be painfully honest today that I wasn't all the way in like she was. Actually, back at that time around in 11th grade, I had wandering eyes. And I had swift moving feet. So in other words, there was times where I wouldn't just be at her house, but I would be at somebody else's house. But that's a whole another lesson. But Sister Robinson, she would come and tell me all the different things that she was going through. Some of y'all sisters mad already. Peter. But she would tell me, Minister Harris, she said, I don't care what my family says. I don't care what some of my friends say. I don't care what my siblings say. She would say, I'm willing to endure the process of this relationship. I'm willing to go through whatever we have to go through as long as we're together. And Gary, I had to chuckle a little bit on the inside. Because I knew on the inside I was not as committed, so that's a whole other lesson. But the thing that I still remember about her, Elder Sheila, I can still remember, Kiera, because you and your mom, y'all be talking about this later on tonight, that she would always always tell me, she said, as we're going through what we're going through, she said, there's one song that always comes to mind. Sister Cindy, she would begin to tell me. She said, there's a song that I heard. That reminded me of you and me. She said it's a song by a woman by the name. You got me messed up. Of Shaka Khan. And the song was titled Through the Fire. And when you began to look at the song said, through the fire, to the limit, to the wall, for a chance to be with you. I'd gladly risk it all. Right down to the wire. Even through the fire. Now you all know I'm married to Elder Sheila. So that relationship, it did not work out. But I couldn't negate the fact how when I began to look at her commitment to me, how she was willing to endure whatever it took to be with her man. And as I began to look at this song, Gary, I was thinking about a man by the name of Job. And I began to look at him. I said, now this could have been Job's theme song. Now you have to understand, Kiara, when you begin to look at that song by Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan was singing about a woman who was willing to go through whatever testing, to go through whatever it took to be with her man. But when you begin to look at Job said, this song wouldn't pertain to him talking about a woman. But this song will pertain to him talking about his relationship with God. And I don't know about anybody else in here this morning, but that probably could be your theme song too. Because is there anybody else in this building? Sometimes you just find yourself singing through the fire for a chance to be with you. I'll gladly risk it all. Is there anybody here this morning that's willing to go through hell and high water just to be with your Savior? Is there anybody here today that's willing to go through the storm and rain just to be with your God? Is there anybody here this morning that's willing to endure the process? Enduring the process. But the thing we have to understand about the process, give me about 10 more minutes. My wife is already steaming. But you have to understand, when you begin to look at enduring the process, there's always going to be pain in the process. There's always going to be pain in the process. When you begin to look at pain as physical or mental agony, it is torment, it's torture sometimes. And when you begin to look at this text, you find a man by the name of Job who was suffering in every facet and every phase of his life. When you begin to look at this text, Job, he had to learn how to endure the process. And I need to pause right here just for 1 second. Because as men and women of God, in order for us to serve God the way that he wants us to serve him, every once in a while we're going to have to go through some pain. Every once in a while you're going to have to go through some ups, and you're going to have to go through some. But when you begin to look at this text,